This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. This is Charlie with S&S Solutions. I'd like to thank you today in joining us for this webinar on ESPi. For those who may or may not know what ESPi is, they are a leader in ONT and power and communications power solutions. This ranges from your local ONT all the way up to solar off-grid solutions that are made available for, say, hard and difficult locations, or just an area where you don't want to have the expense of a electric bill or electric installation. So there is wide ranging, and they will be talking a little bit about today, plus a new product, or I guess I should say an updated product that is coming out here very shortly. But first off, I'd like to introduce Ryan Emerson. He's our expert today from ESPi. He's the director of sales at ESPi. He joined the team back in January of 2020 with a main focus on direct sales and spearheading marketing efforts. He has 10 plus years of experience in electrical power generation marketing while working for a licensed merchandise supplier for Caterpillar and the North America Cat Dealer Network. A little bit about Ryan. He loves spending some time outdoors, hunting, fishing in his local state of Kansas. He's married, has two boys. I'm sure keep him very busy. And without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Ryan.
All right, Charlie. Well, hey, I really appreciate that introduction, and thank you for taking the time today to put this together and kind of get everybody rounded up. So first off, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their schedule today to join this webinar and kind of go over what we do as a company, who ESPi is, and kind of where we're headed. So basically, we are a company that started in 2009, centrally located in Kansas, Clay Center, Kansas, population of about 3,500 people. We started with 12-volt indoor and outdoor UPS units and kind of built our way up from there. So some of our most popular products would be our Titan Outdoor UPS and our Neo Indoor UPS. Those were really kind of our bread and butter that started off our company and kind of the growth within the telecommunications sector. So kind of a fun fact, like I mentioned, Clay Center is centrally located. I work both here in Clay Center and remotely from an office in Downs, Kansas. I live about, I would say 10 miles south of the geographic center of the United States, about 6 miles west of the world's largest ball of twine. So if you guys are ever in the neighborhood, those are some awesome places to visit. Otherwise, I have no idea why you'd be out here. But the great thing is, as I mentioned, us being centrally located, when it comes to shipping, that really is a large advantage to us. We're able to get product out quickly and in a timely fashion to customers. Where a lot of other companies over the last year may have experienced pretty significant lead times, we've done a pretty good job of keeping everything in stock, as all of our products are assembled, manufactured here in the United States. Some components, coming from outside the U.S. But as I mentioned, during 2020, as the pandemic hit, we really were able to do a good job of managing our stock and having timely turnaround time for any orders that were going out. So any companies that are still facing lead time issues right now, we're generally able to ship out within a day or two of order coming in. So, that's really something that I think has helped us out quite a bit, and it's kept us busy and our company really growing over the last year. I know we've added 3 or 4 people to our staff just within the last year. So I'm sure a lot of other companies have experienced growth due to the pandemic, and it seemed that that sustained growth is really carrying us into 2021. And moving forward, I'm looking forward to the exciting opportunities that we have out there. So like I mentioned, some of our product line here is we have 12 volt, 24 volt, 48 volt AC, or I'm sorry, DC power options available. Those are when you have utility power. We also have a solar line of products, both, you know, the 12 volt and 24, 36, and 48 volt areas. And then we also carry a wide range of power supplies, whether that's indoor or outdoor wall warts. You know, say you're looking to only power an ONT, we have the wall warts that allow you to be able to do that. We carry batteries, but the 8 amp hour gold top GS batteries are kind of our standard in all of our 12 volts. Excuse me, in all of our 12 volt units. We also have the wire that's needed to power wire and ONT wire that's needed to wire up these battery backups from your ONT. So moving on here, kind of one of the first products I wanted to cover was our 12 volt Titan. It's our outdoor UPS. Over the last year, this has been one of our top sellers just because of COVID and not being able to enter customers' homes. So what this allows you to do is it is a battery backup, 12 volt battery backup that is in an outdoor weatherproof casing. You're able to mount this right next to the ONT and up to 115 feet away from any outlet, whether that's an indoor outlet or an outdoor outlet. The Titan does come with a AC/DC power supply. That's for indoor use, but we also have outdoor power supplies as well. The batteries have an 8-year battery life on them. We do run a 6-year warranty, 4 years full, 6 years prorated. And another great feature about both our Titan and Neo products is they have a onboard reset, ONT reset button that allows for the customer to push and reset the ONT manually on their end. So that helps with saving the truck roll. Once this presentation's over with and you have the slide deck, I won't force you guys to watch a video right now, but there's a link to a Titan installation video right there in the body of this slide. And it really can kind of go through and show you the ease of installation that really has sold these Titans and our Neos over the past few years. I mean, one of the most important things when you ask any technician about what they're looking for in a service call is that limited time on site. They need to have as little time on site as possible. The reliability and ease of installation of the product is key. And then just the fact that if it's a quality product, they don't want to have to keep coming back and servicing it. So that's one of the main benefits that we've seen out of our products over the past 13 years is just the technician. It's really a technician friendly unit that has sold itself. And like I mentioned, it kind of covers the bread and butter of our business. It's really grown a lot over the last year. So moving on, we'll go down to the Neo. Basically, it's also one of the 12 volt units. It's an indoor unit that's mounted inside and can still be ran 115 feet away from any AC outlet. The wall warts that we use on both this Neo and the Titan allow you to run 16 gauge power cable to the wall wart and has screw on terminals for it. With that power supply, it also has an LED light on it and to show that it's functioning, as well as a screw to screw it into the AC outlet itself. So that's been quite helpful there when you run into those situations where there's no plugins anywhere near the ONT or where you're looking to mount the backup. Going next here is one of our 24 volt options. What we're looking for here is this perfect for NIDs, Wi-Fi, SCADA, and more. You get about 12 hours of runtime depending on your application. You know, it's great. I've seen these used in a lot of Exceedian power nodes that are out there right now, and it's been a great solution for them. So I'm able to provide more information on that if you reach out after the presentation here. Okay, just moving on. Titan XL, that's just another one here that it is basically a one of our outdoor Titan units, but doubled up with additional battery capacity. It can run up to 28 hours for most ONTs, kind of depending on your application, like I mentioned. Same with mounting away 115 feet away from the outlet. And all of our units do have temperature compensated charging. So, you know, once it really helps to extend the battery life on these batteries. And in fact, GS Battery, who is our battery supplier, typically only offers a 4-year warranty on the batteries. They were able, since our product performs so well, they were able to extend that warranty to an additional 2 years. So that's where we get that 4-year full and the 6-year prorated. So we've really had great luck with the performance and just not having to, you know, the issue of going through batteries left and right. You don't have to send technicians out on truck rolls just to replace a battery. They've we've had great luck with them hitting their design life and performing well. So as far as warranty returns and stuff like that go, they've performed great. Moving on here, going down to our 48 volt option. This is our Mega Titan. It is rated for both outdoor and indoor use, both in the US and Canada. It's safety rated by Met Labs. They went through it, said that was for the indoor use portion of it. This has been a great unit for your MDUs or any type of other offices or you know, just larger facilities that you need you know, more, I guess, I'm sorry, a little bit more power there. So moving on. I just thought this is about our Mega Titan hybrid UPS. We're also able to take that same Mega Titan and create a hybrid solar unit out of it with a 235 watt solar panel. Basically what this looks to do here is it extends the runtime with AC power being the primary power source on this. Once that battery is depleted or gets down past that 30%, that's where that that's where that solar panel comes into play and charges the battery to provide that extended runtime. If, you know, for instance, say you're dealing with an outage that typically it's only 2 to 3 hours, but for some reason you're at 8 hours. The unit may handle up to 6 hours, but you need an additional 2 hours of runtime on it. That's where that solar panel comes in great and will charge the battery and keep you guys up and running. So that's been a great seller for us this year, especially, like I said, for those multi-dwelling units and any offices. Moving on here. Oops, I'm sorry. Titan Solar UPS. This is just another one of our solar units. This is on the 12 volt side of things. It basically is a 8 amp hour UPS that offers redundant charging through solar and utility power. So the first priority with charging is through solar, second through utility, and the third is the battery power. So if you should lose power, the battery would be fully charged and would be recharged by the solar panel during that outage. Once the power is back on, the utility power would then pick back up and charge up the battery completely. So that kind of covers that. Like I mentioned, we do have power accessories, whether that's the AC/DC power adapters or the wall warts you see there. Those are our indoor wall warts. Tons of batteries. We have batteries in stock, whether 8 amp hour, 80 amp hour, 120, 300, well, you name it, whatever battery needs you may have, feel free to reach out to us. We generally have the solution, and then, timely can get it to you in a timely manner. As I mentioned with the wall warts, they are a 15-volt AC/DC power supply, and what they do is they have this little LED light right here that shows if it is in operation, and they can also be screwed into the AC outlet. That way, these are, they're securely installed to the outlet, and there's no chance of them either coming unplugged or the customer losing power, or it's easier for the customer to diagnose. If they go down there and there's no LED light on, then you should know whether you got an issue with the wall wart, the battery backup, or the ONT itself. So we also carry strands of the 16 gauge power wire, 1,000-foot strands of that, whether it's stranded or flat. Additionally, we carry what are called our battery adapter modules. Say you're running cyber power devices or cyber power battery backups and want to switch to one of ours, we have the adapters available to make that, make that a plug and play option, to where it's just you plug it right into the cable itself and it plugs into our unit and you're good to go without any other changes being necessary. So getting into our Voltar 2.0. So what we got here, this is the latest and greatest of our solar UPS unit. These come and work for a variety of applications, first and foremost being the telecommunications industry, kind of where it got started. That's with the regular Voltar, and as time has progressed, we've listened to our customers, and basically with each new iteration of the Voltar solar UPS, whether that's the original Voltar, the Voltar ONT, Voltar Plus, and now the Voltar 2.0, we take any suggestions or any new developments in technology and work them into our system. So that's what we're looking to do here with the Voltar 2.0, is improve upon any not issues, but any components that other companies, may be behind on, or that we may be limited to as far as charging or full power UPS goes here. So moving on, let's see if this works. So kind of mentioning that, one of the things we did improve upon over our Voltar Plus unit is previously we were limited to an 8 amp charge rate. One of the things here with the Voltar 2.0 is you got a 20 amp charger. So that significantly increases the amount of charging that's available, and the efficiency as well. Also has an advanced 4-stage multi-power point or MPPT charger here with temperature compensated charging as well, to kind of ensure the overall life of the battery is kind of just maintaining that overall battery health and ensuring that you get the maximum life out of the battery, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 different battery configurations that we have available in this unit. So with moving on, one of the newest things that we have that we included in this Voltar 2.0 that wasn't in any previous iterations of the Voltar was a user interface. In this is an easy to use interface that allows the customer to go through and see accurate diagnostic information, whether it is, the battery, the current battery voltage, the input coming in, the output going out, whatever that may be. That information is displayed on the LCD screen there, as well as the LED gauges above it. In this, and I'll kind of cover those screens as we go along here, there's two independent power sources. So as you'll see down here, there's an input 1 and an input 2. So what this allows for is in the input 1 side of things, that's where the photovoltaic solar panel wiring goes into. That comes in, and you're supplied with 20 feet of that wire with one of these units. Under that input 2, that is an area where, say you should need to manually charge the batteries, or you could also, if you have AC power present at the site, or utility power present at the site, you could hook up utility power directly to that. What that is you're able to hook up our generator charge kit to those terminals and plug it into whatever power device or charging device you may have, whether that's a generator or any other AC power sources that you may have available. You can hook it up directly there, and that will provide additional charging to the battery should you need it. Like I mentioned, that could be in both a hybrid role or a just in case role. So the next input here is the battery. That's just where the battery cables are hooked up to. That would come in already installed when you receive the unit. The battery wires, as well as the temperature sensor. The temperature sensor is included and wired to the negative battery terminal under that battery, that 12-volt DC option there. And then finally, over here on the output 48-volt DC, that would be where you actually hook up the unit that you're looking to power. So in this case, it's a 48-volt unit, 48-volt ONT, whether that's like an Adtran 1148 or Calix E348C ONT, perfect for those applications. But we do also have other configurations available, whether that's 12-volt, 24-volt, 36-volt, and as this one's set up here, 48-volt. If it was a 12-volt unit, that right here would say output 12-volt DC. So that would apply to the configuration that's available, or I'm sorry, the configuration that's set up as. The alarm output section right here, that would be where your RJ45 termination takes place. There's a plug-in on the underside of the faceplate there. That's where you can plug that into your device and run it to the Voltar, to the faceplate here. There's also a section for a micro USB. That's where you can download any diagnostic information, as well as data logs, and then SNMP, which will be coming out as well in the coming months. To basically, it says SNMP, but basically it's more meant for remote monitoring. It's more generic than that. There's several different remote monitoring options out there, and basically that would be also an RJ45 termination right there, and it would supply that remote monitoring data that you'd need for your operation. Because the last, we run into is these Voltar 2.0 units. They are ideal for remote locations, those impossible locations that are hard to get to, whether they're a 2.5-hour drive for the closest technician, or you're just looking to shore up your network in underserved areas. Basically, being able to remote monitor that equipment is vital, just because those truck rolls cost a fortune to get out there. Right now, as the unit sets, we do have 4 dry alarm contact system. The remote monitoring is coming down the pipe. It is currently in beta testing, but said it'll be there on future units as well, and I'll have more information available to discuss on it as time evolves here. So with the faceplate there, the screen, basically you have several different screens going from the home screen. You also have the primary input screen, battery screen, load screen, several different screens that relay the appropriate information. And basically what these little LED gauges above it do is just almost a redundant, almost like a redundant type of visual reference to use there. So those will match up and change as the screens, as you toggle through the screens there. These LEDs on the left side would basically let you know if there's any issues or alarms that are popping off with the unit itself. It also does have, which you can't see very well right here, is a light sensor. It will, once the enclosure door is closed, it will make sure that these LED lights and the LCD screen are no longer lit up so that you're not drawing unnecessary power from the battery. So that kind of covers you there. So basically, it's a very intuitive user interface that's easy to operate. I mean, honestly, when it comes in, the only real work that needs to be done is hooking up the your power to the output portion there, as well as your RJ45 alarm outputs there, and really going. Kind of the most time-consuming process is mounting the solar panel and the cabinet itself. So moving on here to the next slide. Oh, too far there. So yeah, this kind of covers a little bit more of what we're talking about. So with this new Voltar 2.0, we have a larger enclosure, which allows for a lot more flexibility as far as battery storage goes. We have, as I mentioned, several the different voltage options: 12, 24, 36, or 48. But with that, we also have 123, 170, 246, and 340 amp hour battery storage configurations available. What those kind of come from is the basically the application that you're looking to power, and when base recommendations on what batteries to use, the amount of batteries, what kind of runtime you'll get, all of that, etc. I'll kind of dive into that a little bit more as we go here. Off-grid power, like I said, it's primarily where the Voltar started back in the day, was powering ONTs. And it's also worked great, though, for any surveillance camera type of operations. We have many units out there actually of Voltar Plus powering security surveillance camera operations or cattle cameras. We have had a lot of farmers recently that have been looking to set up remote cameras, whether it be in their pastures or just anywhere where they're not, where it's not easy to get to so quickly, whether it's calving season or whatever, and they need to immediately get to the field or the location. They are able to monitor it off-site, many times on their phone. Kind of depends what camera system you're working with, but that's just been kind of one success story, or one application that I hadn't quite thought of until kind of discussing it with a few farmers in the area. It's really been beneficial for them. So also it works great for any wireless equipment, your Wi-Fi routers, anywhere where you might need to power equipment in a remote area where utility power isn't readily available, or it's available and it's a pain in the rear to get it, or you're spending a lot of time waiting on that power. So this can really work as a primary UPS, primary power provider, UPS, or it can work in a secondary role, like I mentioned, as a backup for any sites that do have utility to power, but maybe it's unreliable power where it goes off for an hour or two a day, or whatever it may be. This could be a viable solution to kind of get a little resiliency there at that site and keep you guys up and running. So moving on here. Just going to the next one. Okay, so as I mentioned, yes, a 20 amp charger. It's got that 4-stage MPPT charging. This chart here just basically kind of shows the difference, or the 4 stages of the charging there. So, you know, not a whole lot to cover here, but just most of the work is done there between 0 and 1, and then kind of where we're going here, and it hits that float voltage there around stage 3. So another option, or another aspect I wanted to mention here, is the operating temperature. Currently it's rated at -20 degrees Celsius to 105 degrees Celsius. You know, we've seen these, our Voltar Plus units and any of our other units up in, you know, extreme climates, whether it's in the north, you know, super cold, or somewhere south where with extreme heat. They performed well. We use lead acid batteries that are able to handle that volatility of those extreme temperatures and really maintain a and not cut down on that battery life. So that's kind of been our reasoning for using lead acid batteries versus lithium ion, which I can get into as well. But the lead acid, as I mentioned, is a little bit better on the extreme side of things, but these units are able to also be powered with lithium ion batteries. It would be a configuration we could set up. Those work a little better in kind of those temperature zones that are mid-range, you know, kind of somewhere where it's 70 degrees and sunny all the time, somewhere where I'd love to be right now, but not quite happening. So going down to the next one here. Right here, we're going to get into our solar panels. So one of the main benefits and kind of the new, one of the new options that we have on this Voltar 2.0 is the solar panel. So in the past, on the Voltar Plus, we were working with a 235 watt custom solar panel. It was monofacial, one-sided, still a monocrystalline. Looking into it and speaking with some of our solar panel suppliers, these bifacial panels are really the way to go. What we're doing now on the Voltar 2.0 is using a 370 watt panel. It's 40.6 volts, 77 inch by 38.9 cent. Well, basically about 39 inches, the standard width for solar panels. But what this is it's a bifacial panel. And kind of what that means is that it charges both from the front side and the back side. So doing so, I'll kind of show you here a little graphic on the next slide. So with this, as you'll see up here in this little graphic, it has the glass, the encapsulated material, and then the bifacial cells. Well, these cells have a backside to them as well. And so what they do is they have a transparent back sheet that goes on these solar panels. So when there is reflection, diffused light, whether it's, you know, off green grass, soil, granite, or sand, or even better, snow, that reflection is bouncing back up into the solar panel itself and heating it from the backside. So that what they say can bring a 25% increase in power. You know, and that's great. And that's something that, you know, may be kind of hard to measure. But one of the main selling points to this is, as I mentioned, we have a lot of customers that are up in the northern parts of the U.S., snowy areas on the mountains. Well, it helps a lot with snow removal. Basically, it can help shed snow way faster than the monofacial panels, I guess is what you want to call them. So in these pictures here, on this far left panel, what you're getting there is that is a single-sided monofacial panel. Right after a snowstorm we had here in Clay Center. Wasn't yesterday, but could have been. We actually had this a couple months ago. So basically, the one on the far left here is monofacial panel. As you can see, no snow has melted off of it yet. Second one here is a bifacial panel, but we covered it with cardboard in the back. Because basically what we're looking to do here is replicate what the supplier was telling us. We wanted to ensure that even in low light conditions that these solar panels perform as advertised, because as I mentioned, if we are up in those northern geographies, you're going to need to gather all the light possible, whether that's coming in from the top of the sky or if it's reflecting off the ground. So as you'll see here, this bifacial panel that was left uncovered on the back, and you can really see that transparent coating on the back. To where, I mean, honestly, it almost looks like just a solar panel, just reversed on the other side, and it does a lot for increasing that overall charge capacity that's going into the battery and help clearing any snow. Because if these are in a remote area that's 2 hours away and they got 10 inches of snow, the day before, you don't want to roll a truck out there to get that all cleaned off or hope that in a week or two it may finally be cleared off of there. This will help clear that snow faster and will also even charge the battery during that time, because with that reflection coming from the back end, it's not just heating the panel to get that snow to melt, it's also providing a charge to the battery as well. So in the past, when you may be getting 0 watts coming in here, you're getting a little bit of charge rate. I don't have the exact figures right here with me, my notes, or I do somewhere. It's just my notes are a big mess and I can't find off the top. But anyways, these do really well in those low light and snowy geographies. They're also roughly 25 to 35% lighter than older monofacial panels, but they're still able to withstand a high wind load, 50 pounds per square foot, and a snow load or a weight of 110 pounds per square foot on top of it. So they're tough. They're good in the wind. They don't torque and get all out of whack or anything like that. They come with a 25-year warranty on them, and there's multiple ways that you can mount these, whether what's shown here is a mobile base kits that we have on a trailer. I'll move to the next slide here, but basically there's several ways to mount these, whether it's on a utility pole, which is shown here on the left, or in our mobile base kit, which is shown here on the photo on the right. Majority of the photos that you see right now is the Voltar 2.0 unit on this mobile base kit. It doesn't actually come standard on that, but it can work well as an option. Maybe it's a site that you're just wanting to provide temporary power to it for a while, or theft isn't an issue. That's where that may work good. That unit there, I was able to load, me and one other guy was able to load that in and out of my truck without the issue. Had that in and out in 5 minutes, and I kind of was able to take it out into the country, get some photos shot of it, and right back in. And it goes perfectly between the wheel wells of the truck. So if that's something you're looking to cover, any temporary power sites while you're waiting for utility power to be ran to it, that would be an optimal solution. But like I said, making sure theft isn't an issue, that would be one thing there. That's with theft possibly being an issue. That's where the utility pole mounting has came in quite handy. As I mentioned, we have sent about 20 feet of photovoltaic wire that goes along with the solar panel. and it allows for it to be mounted up on the utility pole and ran down to the enclosure. Whether you want to mount the enclosure up high or lower, that's kind of your call there. These enclosures, and as I'll show you with the different battery setups, they can get a little heavy. So we'd recommend, instead of using lag screws, to use through bolts on any utility pole mounting applications. That just kind of ensures that over time they won't wiggle loose or, just come unthreaded and the enclosure coming off of there. So yep, so there's also other custom mounting options available. We're a small company, so one of the great things about that is we're able to react and, kind of review any applications that you have and find an optimal solution kind of based off of that application. It may not be something that we currently have as a product or service, but it's sure something that we can look into and or source for you guys and find the right solution necessary to kind of fit your needs to that, whether it's a remote location or a temporary location, whatever it may be. So okay, kind of moving on here to the next slide. Okay, so with this, so I was kind of talking about the enclosure, much bigger than the previous enclosure in the Voltar Plus. This enclosure is 35 inches tall by 16 wide by 11.5 deep. So as you see in that picture on the right there, pretty good size, got a Nerada battery sitting in it. That is powder coat painted galvanized steel. It also has a wind guard stop on it for that pretty good sized door. It doesn't get ripped off when you go to open the door. There are two quarter turn padlockable latches on it. So basically there are two latches that you open and close with a can wrench, but they have brackets around them to use a master lock if necessary. So that helps out there. There's also adjustable shelving for increased battery capacity. We'll get into that here in a second. So whether you're going with Nerada batteries like this or some smaller batteries, there's different ways of securing it or other equipment within the cabinet itself. Okay, moving on. I guess one other thing to point out here too. The in the enclosure itself, as I mentioned, the battery wire, as I'm pointing to right here, will already be pre-installed in the unit. Coming off of this black wire is the black wire that goes into the temperature sensor. That's for your temperature compensated charging, which I mentioned, really extends the lifetime of the battery and overall uptime of the equipment itself. The photovoltaic wire runs right down through these grommets down here at the bottom and hooks to your input right here. Those, like I said, are already installed as well and will come along with the unit. Okay, getting into the next slide here. So with that larger enclosure, there are several different battery configurations that we have available based on typically your application, the amount of runtime you're looking to have, and or just the amount of runtime you actually need to stay up without any loss of service there. So first option there is our 123 amp hour options. You'll see there is a battery shelf, or a shelf that the battery is sitting on right there. This option here allows for some extra space, whether you want to house the equipment that you're powering, whether it's a router or any other type of equipment. You have room to put it in there. We can also add DIN rails if necessary. Also available and not shown for this 123 amp hour solution is a smaller cabinet. So say you don't need anything else in there and you want to have a little bit less of an investment. We have a cabinet that's about half that size that fits just one of those Deca solar batteries in that. What those that battery is. It's 123 amp hour Deca solar photovoltaic battery that is it's AGM glass, and you know, we've had great luck with these. They have a 10-year 10-year life on them, and they have a, I'm sorry, the warranty on them is 3 years limited warranty on those. Getting into the next setup here, it's 170 amp hour battery. That is a Narada battery. As you'll see, there's a little bit of extra space there in the enclosure. Once you get that battery in there, it can still fit a little bit of additional equipment in there if needed. What this does is that it provides just a little bit more amp hours to, you know, get you by. This is perfect for any of your 12-volt applications. You know, say it's like a 716 GE ONT. This would be more than enough power right here to keep that thing up and running forever. So, you know, it just kind of depends on what the application itself is. Going next to the next step would be the 246 amp hour configuration. What that has is 2 of those Deca solar batteries. As you'll see, we added in a that second battery, but also a battery brace to go along the top. These fill the cabinet up to where if you needed space or needed to house additional equipment, we have other enclosures available, empty enclosures we could provide that would go along with this and kind of be able to house the equipment that would be empowered by these here. The second, or I'm sorry, the last option here is a 340 amp hour option. So basically that's 2 Narada batteries set inside of that cabinet there with a battery brace in front of it as well. That secures the batteries from moving around. But as you say, when you're installing these cabinets, you're not going to put them in with the batteries installed unless you're the Incredible Hulk or something like that. Or it would be best or recommended to mount the cabinet or the enclosure, you know, whether it's to the utility pole or to the mobile base kit or the wall, wherever you may be mounting it, and then add in the batteries in after that. So unless you want to get a workout, like I mentioned. So with these, as I kind of covered, the reason we have these multiple configurations like this is there's a lot of different applications out there, whether it be 12-volt ONT or 48-volt ONT or Calyx, Adtran, whatever it may be. There is oftentimes not just a one-size-fits-all solution. What we really want to do, or what we really stress and look to do when we're sizing out any of our solar units, is reviewing with the customer what the application is that they're looking to power, you know, what's acceptable for amount of runtime without solar input, and just overall kind of, the overall expectation. So here we go. Yeah, so basically with that, with whatever equipment you're looking to power, there's 4 things that we kind of need to cover ahead of time. Is wattage of the device you're looking to power. So basically, so like a 716 GE router, I know that is about a 750 milliamp or 0.75 amp draw on it. So watts wise, that's about 9 watts. So kind of just knowing that ahead of time, and how long do you like to run without any solar input. The batteries needed, an average hours of sunlight in your location. So all of that information goes into a fancy equation that we put together that can determine the appropriate amount of the appropriate configuration, Voltar 2.0 unit, and basically the amount of, or the overall performance that that unit would provide you with that specific configuration. So say you're, over here in New Mexico somewhere, and you have, what is that? Oh, 5.5 hours of good charging line every day. So perfect. You get up here in North Dakota and you're a fraction of that. So that's kind of where we came in with those bifacial panels, wanting to get as much charging efficiency as possible out of this, but also having enough battery capacity available to maintain power on any of those low light or no light days. So, with going through say if you came to us looking to power a Calyx E312C ONT, we would look into that and say, okay, we see the max watts on that is approximately around 50-watt draw. And you're looking to have 3 days, or you can manage 3 days of, 3 days without solar. With that, we would take that information and determine what would be our best unit configuration for you. So if we were going to review that, we would see, okay, it's going to 50 watts, 3 days without solar. What would that look like as far as, 1 deck of battery goes? Well, days without solar, that would get you about, at 123 amp hour battery setup, that gets you about 1 day without solar input. 2 decas, that's your 246 amp hour option, that would get you about 2.3 days of power without solar. And then your same 1 Narada, your 1.6 days, but then the 2 Narada option. So going back here, your 340 amp hour option to power a 50-watt continuous load without dropping power would get you about 3.27 days of charge time without solar being present. So if worst came to worst, like I said, that's a remote site. You need to roll a truck out there, and that you're 2 days in, and you have 3 days worth of battery time available. And you may need to roll a truck if there's forecasted for another 4 days of rain or no sun at all or something like that. So it kind of just gives you a little bit of leeway to work with, an idea of how much battery capacity is available and runtime should worst come to worst, whether it's a storm or just a bad week of solar, any of those options. So having that additional capacity and having it available is great. And you can always come back and add additional battery capacity if needed. So say initially you got out there with a unit with 170 amp hours, and that's getting you guys by, but you would really like to double up, whether it's going from 3 days to 6 days, you'd want to double up and add another battery in there. That's more than possible. Basically, we just get another battery shipped out to you and kind of explain how to wire up the battery cables and need to be set. But there is a lot of flexibility here in these units. So going on from there, covered that, and the isolation chart here. Kind of going from there, I'd like to cover any questions that anybody may have. I kind of ran through everything kind of quick and dirty, but I just want to give us a little bit of an opportunity for a back and forth to talk about any questions, whether it's the different solar panels, the battery capacity, the user interface itself, what may be beneficial to them, or what questions you may have that I can help clear up. Open the floor up here. All right, anybody? Are we doing good?
Yeah, nothing has come into the chat at this point. So
Well, guys, I either did a really good job or an absolutely terrible job.
I would like to reiterate, we've been working with ESPi for quite a few years now. This, again, this Charlie and SNS solution. And when they first started with their Neos and Titans, it was all based on what was the competition not doing? What were the pains? And they developed the system. Some of the pains were runtime, that the batteries didn't live up to what it said they would. And people were losing power shorter than they needed it. Different things like that. Ease of use, ease of installation, making it easy so that you did not have an expense of a truck roll, that it's something as simple as a customer pushing a button to reset the system instead of having somebody have to go out there, get into it, and reset the system. And that's a big expense to the providers. And so they were built in a method that once it's all said and done, you have the best return of investment that you've done for your customers, and you've given your customers um, peace of mind that they will have that capabilities when the power does go out or a storm or something, and they can still call 911, or your equipment stays up and running and you still have active networks. So they've done a very good job of assessing those needs and moving forward. Is there anybody who, oh, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, yeah, I'd just like to add on that. We really saw that over this last year with the pandemic hitting. As I mentioned, I came on in January of 2020, about a month before everything just hit the fan. So I don't know anything different besides the whole COVID and how it affected the industry, immediately last year. But these Titans, and mostly it was the majority of the time, the Titans were a godsend to a lot of these technicians. They were able to get on site and off site easily with installs or repairs, basically because you're not having to make an appointment or enter the customer's home if you don't need to. So, I mean, what in the past may have been an hour-long service call just turned into 15 minutes. And, that's how many more service calls can you get added in there per day, and exponentially over time. So that's really been a key benefit there. And all of those units are weatherproof. They got a conformal spray coating on the control board itself. If any component of that unit should go bad, they have modular replacement. So modular replacement parts. So basically you can replace the control board or the wall wart or the fuse, whatever it may be. You don't have to replace the entire UPS unit if it's just one component that's malfunctioning. So like I said, yeah, that ease of installation and ease of use has really carried us to where we are today, and really made us a favorite of technicians out there.
So, well, I'd like to thank Ryan. We haven't had any other questions come in, so I'd like to thank Ryan and his time today to come discuss, especially the new Voltar 2.0. It's a great feature. It can save you a lot of pulled out hair and heartache, and a lot of money, where the option to put up power somewhere where you would be spending a lot of money and a lot of time to get that power to a location, you now can have it up very quickly and have it up and running in a lot shorter time and a lot less of a cost. Especially like you said, those rural areas where it's just maybe more feasible to do it this way instead of having to run a line, maybe a radio. There's the predecessor to the 2.0, the Voltar. I know of a camera that they have up in like Minnesota or Michigan or somewhere like that, that the Voltar runs both the camera and the radio for them to monitor elk herds. And so they can watch these, and it runs the whole system, and very easy to use. So it's something that you can tie it in, have a wireless radio, tie into a local network, microwave network, something like that, and you can run it all from the Voltar. So with that being said, I encourage you, if you have any questions, reach out either to ESPi or ourselves. We are going to be sending out the recording with some information. And then as you go forward, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to help. We can get demonstrations, anything that you need to help your decisions. So with that, I say goodbye and have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.